Yeah, thank you. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Acharya Shtotra Shri Srimad Bhakti Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Acharya Shtotra Shri Srimad Bhakti Saraswati Gosvāmī Mahārāja Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yogya Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Can you give me a book? I think there's one in the closet. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading Canto number 9, chapter 4, in text 2 through 15 and 16. So, the book is coming. Yeah.
Is it over there?
Yeah, this.
No, I can't. I don't know where it is.
It should be this one.
Use this book to chapter. Oh wait, this is it.
Yeah, that's the one. Thank you. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.2 and then 15 and 16. I'll just read the translation in the beginning and then we can recite Sanskrit of text number 15 and 16. Okay. So this is Ambarīṣa Maharaj offended by Durvasa Muni. Text number 2. Nabhaga inquired, "My dear brothers, what have you given to me as my share of your father's property?" Of our father's property. His elder brothers answered, "We have kept our father as your share." But when Nabhaga went to his father and said, "My dear father, my elder brothers have given you as my share of property," the father replied, "My dear son, do not rely upon their cheating words. I am not your property." Interesting situation. Text number 3. Nabhaga's father said, "All the descendants of Angira are now going to perform a great sacrifice. But although they are very intelligent, on every sixth day they will be bewildered in performing sacrifice and will make mistakes in their daily duties." Purport. Nabhaga was very simple-hearted. Therefore, when he went to his father, the father, in compassion for his son, suggested that as a means of livelihood, Nabhaga could go to the descendants of Angira and take advantage of their misgivings in performing yagya. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mistakes. That's what translation says. Okay, text number 5. Nabhaga's father continued, "Go to those great souls and describe 2 Vedic hymns pertaining to Vaishvadeva. When the great sages have completed the sacrifice and are going to heavenly planets, they will give you the remnants of the money they have received from the sacrifice. Therefore go there immediately. Thus Nabhaga acted exactly according to the advice of his father, and the great sages of the Angira dynasty gave him all their wealth, and then went to the heavenly planets. So, yeah, Nabhaga he went to the sacrificial arena, where the place of sacrifice was taking place, and he got all the wealth from it. Text number 6. Thereafter, while Nabhaga was accepting the riches, a black-looking person from the north came to him and said, "All the wealth from this sacrificial arena belongs to me." So this is a black-looking person. This is Lord Shiva, as we will see here through the texts. Nabhaga then said, "These riches belong to me. The great saintly persons have delivered them to me." When Nabhaga said this, the black-looking person replied, "Let us go to your father and ask him to settle our disagreement." In accordance with this, Nabhaga inquired from his father. So now they're going to his father to settle down this disagreement. The father of Nabhaga said, "Whatever the great sages sacrificed in the arena of the Daksha Yagya, they offered to Lord Shiva as his share. Therefore, everything in this sacrificial arena certainly belongs to Lord Shiva." So actually all the wealth belongs to Lord Shiva, the father says. Thereupon, after offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Nabhaga said, "O worshipable Lord, everything in this arena of sacrifice is yours. This is the assertion of my father. Now with great respect, I bow my head before you, begging you mercy." This is acceptance from Nabhaga. He's given everything to Lord Shiva, although in the first place he was told that he will get it himself. But out of his great humility and respect to Lord Shiva, he's bowing down and begging his mercy and giving everything to him. Text 10. Lord Shiva said, "Whatever your father has said is the truth, and you also speak in the same truth. Therefore, I, who know the Vedic mantras, shall explain transcendental knowledge to you." Text 11. Lord Shiva said, "Now you may take all the wealth remaining from the sacrifice, for I give it to you." After saying this, Lord Shiva, who is most adherent to the religious principles, disappeared from that place. So there was a test by Lord Shiva to see how Nabhaga actually is, how humble he is and qualified to receive this wealth. Text number 12. If one hears and chants or remembers this narration in the morning and evening with great attention, he certainly becomes learned, experienced in understanding the Vedic hymns, and expert in self-realization. So this is the end of this pastime. And what do you call this when you give at the end of the particular pastime, you give Ashtaka, like in the morning we chant Guru Ashtaka. There's this glorifying or giving benedictions type of prasadam. What is that called? That sutra we have, Paribharsha Sutra, but Palashruti, yeah, Shruti, Palashruti, yeah. So that is the Palashruti of this pastime. If one hears and chants or remembers this narration in the morning and evening with great attention, he becomes learned, experienced in understanding the Vedic hymns. It's a very short pastime, but just to read this pastime, you get the proper understanding of Vedic hymns. It's a benediction for all the Brahmanas here. So, and in this pastime we learn that because Nabhaga was very simple-hearted, he was very surrendered and very respectful to the seniors, he actually had received the boon of the wealth needed to sustain his life. And one of the qualities of knowledge, it's described in the Bhagavad Gita, is to be humble, is to be tolerant, and one of them is to be simple. It's called arjavam. Amanitvam adambitvam ahimsa kshantir arjavam. So being simple, Srila Prabhupada explains, means to be without duplicity, to be straightforward in your dealings. And now we see that this is what has been exemplified by Nabhagas. Just by that quality of being simple and respectful to the seniors, he has received such great benedictions of Lord Shiva. Now we're going to hear about one of the descendant of Nabhaga. This is Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, so text number 13. From Nabhaga, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa took birth. Mahārāja Ambarīṣa was an exalted devotee, celebrated for his great merits. Although he was cursed by an infallible Brahmana, the curse could not touch him. Text 14. King Parikshit inquired, "O great personality, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa was certainly most exalted and meritorious in character. I wish to hear about him. How surprising it is that the curse of a Brahmana, which is insurmountable, could not act upon him." And this is text 15 and 16. We can chant text 15 together. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ambarīṣa Mahabhaga Sapta Dvipavitam Mahim Avyayam Cha Shriyam Labdha Vibhavam Cha Tulam Bhuvi. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ambarīṣa Mahabhaga Saptadvipavitim Mahim Avyayam Cha Shriyam Labdva Vibhavam Cha Tulam Bhuvi. Shri Shuka Uvacha Ambarīṣa Mahabhaga Saptadvipavitim Mahim Avyayam Cha Shriyam Labdva Vibhavam Cha Tulam Bhuvi. Saptadvipavitim Mahim Saptadvipavitim Mahim Avyayam Cha Shriyam Labdva Vibhavam Cha Tulam Bhuvi. Shri Shuka Uvacha Avyayam Cha Shriyam Labdva. Ladies. Shri Shuka Uvacha Anyone online would like to chant?
Shri Shuka Vacha.
Shri Shuka Vacha. Shri Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, Ambarīṣa, King Ambarīṣa, Mahabhaga, the great fortunate king, Saptadvipavatim, consisting of 7 islands, Mahim, the whole world, Avyayam Cha, and inexhaustible, Shriyam, beauty, Labdva, after achieving, Vibhavam Cha, and opulences, Atulam, unlimited. Bhuvi, in this earth. Translation. Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, the most fortunate personality, achieved the rule of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands, and achieved inexhaustible, unlimited opulence and prosperity on earth. Although such a position is rarely obtained, Mahārāja Ambarīṣa did not care for it at all, for he knew very well that all such opulence is material. Like that which is imagined in a dream, such opulence will ultimately be destroyed. The king knew that any non-devotee who attains such opulence merges increasingly into material nature's mode of darkness. For a devotee, material opulence is insignificant, whereas for a non-devotee, material opulence is the cause of increasing bondage. For a devotee knows that anything material is temporary, whereas a non-devotee regards the temporary so-called happiness as everything and forgets the path of self-realization. Thus, for the non-devotee, material opulence is a disqualification for spiritual advancement. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Manchakalpatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this is the beginning of the pastime with Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. Now in this chapter we'll learn about his great personality. It is describing here, also in this text, about his wonderful qualities. The most fortunate personality, he achieved the rule of the entire world, and he was by means qualified to do that, to achieve that position. He possessed inexhaustible, unlimited opulences and prosperity on earth, but he was not attached to this prosperity. It is quite amazing how you have so much wealth and prosperity going through you, but you're still not attached to you, properly utilizing this in Krishna service. So actually I think Śukadeva Gosvāmī compares in future text that he regarded this opulence as just a piece of stone. All the wealth of the universe was just a piece of stone to Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. Quite an exalted position, and all the rulers, all the people, all the citizens in this kingdom, they were well trained by Mahārāja Ambarīṣa in self-realization. They were all accustomed to chant glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they were not attracted by anything material, including liberation, mukti, liberation. So that's quite a wonderful personality that we will hear about. And his pastime, he will personally be protected by Krishna. That is amazing, wonderful, pure devotee. And he comes in the lineage of Nambhaga, did I say it right? Yeah, Nambhaga. And that's, as Maharaj yesterday mentioned, it's not a simple and an ordinary thing that in this lineage comes a pure devotee. A pure devotee is always, he comes for a reason, and his appearance is glorified, celebrated, appearance and disappearance. As what we did yesterday, we also had a few of the wonderful Vaishnavas disappearing. So this is a great character of Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. Again, he was a pure devotee, detached from all the riches, and he was performing a vrata during the month of Kartik also, just like we have Kartik now. Quite an interesting and wonderful, not a coincidence, but yes, something happening at the same time. We also are celebrating Kartik. Srila Prabhupada explained and said about Mahārāja Parikshit that he was an exalted devotee of the Lord, and he trained his citizens quite nicely in the state. Ambarīṣa. And he was the citizens. They were not interested in anything material, as I mentioned. They were very content in glorifying Krishna. And in this text, we'll learn about his renunciation, or Srila Prabhupada is speaking about proper vision of renunciation. Material opulence is insignificant for devotees, and for materialists it becomes the source of the life. It's what they want to have, is this material opulence. But if you have devotion, if you have Krishna in your life, then all the things that might be an obstacle as far as wealth and opulences, material birth, a good material birth, and also education, this all could be utilized in Krishna service. So in future text we learn that why Mahārāja Ambarīṣa is a pure devotee, because he engaged all the things that he possessed, savai mana Krishna padara vindaya. His mind was engaged in glorifying or remembering the lotus feet of the Lord. Then vachamsi vaikunta gunana vardhane, he was also glorifying, he's using his words to speak the glories of Krishna. Then he utilized his hands, his legs, his hearing, his ears in service to Krishna. And then later, Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, when Durvasa Muni came to ask for benediction of Vishnu to save him from that burning chakra, is that I can't, look, Brahma didn't save him, Shiva didn't save him, and I can't save you. You have to come to Ambarīṣa Mahārāja yourself, because Sadhubir grasta hridayo bhaktar bhakta janapriyaha. I am, my heart is controlled by my devotees, and devotees of my devotees. So one of the characteristics of pure devotional service we learn in Nectar of Devotion is that it controls Krishna. Right? So in this way, it exemplified in example of Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, that he had such a strong devotion for the Lord that the Lord personally came down and protected him. My heart is controlled by my devotees, Krishna says, and devotees of my devotees. I was thinking about something that I was reading Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, and this text number 24, where Krishna explains that Bhokta Chaprabhar Evacha, that I am the only enjoyer and master of all sacrifice. There's a similar text in the 5th chapter at the end, the last text. And those who do not recognize this abhijananti tatvinatashchayavantitya, those do not recognize my true position, that I am controlling everything, they actually fall down, Krishna says. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that there are many different yagyas that we can perform, but ultimately all the things, all the paraphernalia of material existence, material world should be used in service to Krishna. Just like if you see a tree and if you want to cut it down, and if you need to make an axle, you cut that tree, you make the axle out of the tree, and you can cut it down with it. So similarly, this material body or material nature also needs to be used for Krishna's pleasure. And Srila Prabhupada states in text 24 that even if you have material desires to be fulfilled, better pray for this fulfillment of this material desire to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although it's not pure devotion, in some ways it is recommended, since, realistically speaking, when we begin practicing bhakti, devotional service, we have material desires. So if we do not act on these material desires, or if we pray to Krishna to be free from material desires, or to have an inclination to serve Him, and for this material desires not to be an obstacle in our life, then it is recommended. If we're not just praying solely for material desires, and that's our goal, what we want to achieve by practicing bhakti, if it's not on the contrary, if we want to seek the mercy of the Lord by being sincere before Him and saying, yes, I have material desires, but I do not want this material desires to be an obstacle in my pure devotion to you. So this is the consciousness of a devotee if he is practicing bhakti. He does not want material desires to be hindering, to be given obstacles in pure devotional service. And the next text, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pitrin Yanti Pitri Vrata, Krishna says that there's different kind of worships right? There's worships to the devotees, the demigods. There's also worship to the ancestors, and there's worship to bhutas, the ghosts and spirits. And the destination is also, whoever you worship, you have your affection, you perform yajna, you're conscious of demigods, you go to demigods. If you are conscious of your ancestors, and if you want to achieve their planet, then you go to the ancestors. Similarly with the bhutas, Srila Prabhupada explains the black arts. People perform black arts. That's worship of the bhutas. I remember growing up, there was one lady. She was performing. She was inviting people and looking at the palm and also some other things. I'm not exactly aware of the practice, but she was known in a neighborhood that she would perform certain rituals to get to predict the future of a person, or what will happen to them. But then Srila Prabhupada in this commentary wonderfully says that if those people who worship demigods and worship the ancestors and the bhutas, they can attain this destination of their planets, then why worshippers of Lord Vishnu cannot attain that destination? So the Krishna consciousness movement is therefore distributing sublime information to the entire human society to the effect that by simply chanting Hare Krishna mantra, one can become perfect in this life and go back home, back to Godhead. And I was also thinking about chanting Maha Mantra. If we want to chant sincerely and purely, we need to be situated in a proper ashram, since it could be disturbing for the mind if, for example, you're not, your inclination, your material nature is, or your material desires are telling you that you can't be a brahmachari, for example. You have affection for the opposite sex, or you want to pursue a career or anything like that. If it comes up in your mind often and often and often, and it becomes a hindrance, it deviates the mind. It's so strong that during chanting, those material desires come up. Then maybe it's necessary to think about the different ashram, maybe. So, of course, we can also seek the mercy and see that maybe there's some correction in our approach to the holy name that can help us. But the point is that the holy name is merciful, and if we chant the holy name in a proper ashram, then we can derive the benefit of chanting. Otherwise, the mind will be giving us so many problems. And then to chant with affection is very simple. We just need to call out to the holy name with an attitude of surrender, depending on Krishna's mercy and being completely helpless, like a child crying for the mother. And again, the next text, Krishna says that this devotion, bhakti prayachiti, or bhakti upahritam, is what I truly accept. And if we do our activities, our karma, in the mood of tat kurushu madarpanam, yad karoshi yadashnasi, yad juhosi dadasiyat, if we do this in the mood of offering everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then vimukta mamupashisi, then we can attain the supreme destination. We can be liberated in going back home to Godhead. Shubha shubha phalarivam, moksheshe karma bandhanai, sannyasa yoga yuktatma, vimukta mamupashisi. And proper understanding of renunciation, yukta, yukta means proper, is anasaktasya vishayan, yattarham upayajata, nirbandha krishna sambandha, yuktam vairagya muchita, is that all the fruits of our activities are meant to be given to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said that all my disciples are actually sannyasis, simply because they have surrendered to Krishna. They have surrendered their lives to Krishna. And renunciation doesn't, it doesn't just, at least in the understanding of Rupa Gosvāmī, Yukta Vairagyam, it's not just speaking about the sannyasis, those who are dedicated their life to this ashram of giving Krishna consciousness, speaking straightforwardly about Krishna and preaching Sannyas actually means that it happens on the level of the heart, is that I am able to give the result of my activities of phala, fruit, to the Supreme Personality of God for His enjoyment. And at the end, Srila Prabhupada says in the commentaries, this person becomes liberated, and this liberation is specified. Mamopashyasi, this liberation means that a person will go back home to Godhead. And why it is stressed, this yukta vairagyam, because it's very simply misunderstood. And in life, when we talk to people, people do not understand what renunciation means, especially in this modern view. People think that renunciation means that you become dry, you give up everything, and you stop speaking, you stop seeing people, and this is the practice, But of course, as the Vaishnavas, we understand that the whole purpose of renunciation is to give pleasure, to not resist the desires of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and try to link with those desires. Try to do things that are pleasing Krishna, still acting, still producing fruits, but for the pleasure of the Lord. One time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, he met one renunciant like that, who was a dry renunciant. He was a yogi, performing Ashtanga yoga. And he was so austere, he would perform vrata of not eating, fasting. He would do yoga, he would live in the forest and wear tree bark as his clothing. And he went to he wanted to join kirtan in Srivas Pandit's house. He came there and he was in Navadvip, he wanted to participate in kirtan. And when Srivas met him, he didn't allow him to enter into the house because it's only for devotees, for those who are trying to please Mahaprabhu by pure chanting. So it's a special kind of atmosphere needs to be created for pure chanting. But that yogi insisted, and Srivas eventually led them into the assembly of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the devotees chanting. And then Mahaprabhu stopped kirtan. He realized that I'm not experiencing bliss. There's something that is coming up as an obstacle, as an interruption. And eventually it was this yogi who was there, renunciant yogi. And Mahaprabhu told them he asked him, what do you do? And he said, I practice Ashtanga yoga. And why do you come here? And he said, Mahaprabhu was inclining to say that you travel all the way from the forest here, and obviously you wanted to go to in Navadvip. It's a big city. There's so much going on. There's many householders, and you wanted to show off your renunciation, just to come so the householders would greet you and feed you and respect you. So for that reason, you came here to Navadvip. So he understood that his intention wasn't proper. And he told him that, you have to go, you can't be in this kirtan. And he left eventually, and he was feeling morose. He was realizing that, yes, I was wrong, my intention was not proper, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was speaking the truth. Now I'm lamenting that my desire was material, and I'm actually, the whole time I was practicing Ashtanga Yoga for the wrong reasons. But since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very merciful, that Brahman, or that yogi eventually felt, what do you call it? He felt remorse. Yeah, he felt remorse, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu invited him to the kirtan. And yes, his consciousness changed. He was chanting and realizing that that's the method for self-realization. It's not dry renunciation. So, yes, I'll just conclude to say that we spoke about, in the beginning of this chapter, concluded the short pastime of Nabhaga. He is the son who was cheated by his brothers, who told him that now the share that we'll give you is your father. And then Lord Shiva came and tested his sincerity, and in this quality of simplicity and acceptance of the authority of senior Vaishnavas led him to actually receive the wealth that was supposed to be given to him to maintain his life. And now we're starting the pastime of Mahārāja Ambarīṣa, describing his glorious character of being a proper renunciant and a pure devotee of Krishna. And I touched a little bit about this renunciation and with the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the yogi. So I can stop here, and if we'd like to discuss something or if there's any comments or questions, we can have that.
Thank you very much for the class, Prabhu. I have a couple, like a comment and a question. The first is, the question is, how does this relate with the last chapter with Revati and her father being in the planet of Lord Brahma? Are they related like familially, or is it just like a moving on to the next topic? If you could illuminate that connection, if there is one, or if there's not, that's no problem.
Thank you. Does anyone have an idea how these chapters are related? The beginning of this 9th canto, just a few short stories, right? We it's all the same dynasty. Would you like to use the mic?
I was just saying it's history of descendants. That's what I thought.
The history of the descendants in the 9th canto.
I forgot exactly how they're related, but somehow they're.
I'm sure there is
Ambarīṣa is related to Nabhaga, and Nabhaga is related to so-and-so, the last chapter. So.
Yeah, there's definitely a connection. I'm also not remembering.
Here's another connection. In Los Angeles, we just began the 4th canto a couple weeks ago. And in the first chapter of the 4th canto, it talks about the birth of Durvasa Muni and his 2 brothers, whose names I forget. But we had a class a couple weeks ago, and I was just reflecting that it's so interesting that Durvasa Muni, he's being born there, and it seems like such a out-of-place story. Or I don't know, some of the stories in the Bhagavatam, it's like, why are we talking about this? That, Lord Brahma and Vishnu and Shiva all appear before, I forget the sage's name. He was meditating on the Supreme. He was trying to have a son like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he didn't have a clear understanding of who it was. So then the 3 guna avatars come and they say, we're all actually the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They all say that. And then he has 3 sons, one of each quality, and Durvasa Muni is like of the quality of Lord Shiva. And now, 5 cantos later, here he is about to curse Mahārāja Ambarīṣa and have that whole pastime. So it's amazing how important all of the information is in the Bhagavatam, even though it seems like, this is a weird genealogical chapter, and this one is just like a kind of far out story that doesn't make sense. But it's all connected, and it's all going to come back like throughout the Bhagavatam. It's all connected. So it's a very interesting thing to meditate on. The king of books has no mistakes in it, no accidents.
Yeah, thank you. The meaning of Durvasa Muni, as far as I remember, Dur means difficult, and Vasa means difficult to deal with, to live with. So he is appearing a few times in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and now he is trying to offend Mahārāja Ambarīṣa. Yes, and Mahārāja Ambarīṣa is coming as a descendant of Nabhaga, and here Nabhaga, at least in this pastime, we see that it's important to have Vaishnava qualities, quality of simplicity and quality of respect to this. I'm repeating myself, but just trying to see that how this is connected. But Mahārāja Ambarīṣa is coming as a pure devotee. So because Nabhaga was I guess blessed by the appearance of Lord Shiva, his son becomes a pure devotee, Ambarīṣa Maharaj. But we can look into more of the connection between the chapters. I'm sure there is a connection. Anything else?
Hare Krishna. At the beginning of your nice lecture, you spoke about something that I didn't fully catch, but I was wondering if you could talk about it again or repeat it. It had to do with basically a devotee should be humble, tolerant, and then there was a third thing. Can you go over that again, please?
Yes, that's described in the Bhagavad Gita and Shesha Upanishad also, the qualities of knowledge. And the first one is humility. Then you have pridelessness, amanvitam adambitvam, then ahimsa, non-violence, kshantir, tolerance, arjavam, simplicity, acharya upasanam, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, shaucham, cleanliness, stadiyam, steadfastness, atma vinigraha, self-control. And all these qualities develop when we perform bhakti. Actually, bhakti on the level of sadhana, when we begin to practice bhakti, two characteristics are there. First one is that it reads you from material distress, klesha agni, and then also it brings auspiciousness. And Jiva Gosvāmī explains that auspiciousness means that devotees, and they give blessings to the whole world. There's 4 things that he mentions. So when the devotee goes and associates with the world, with people, then he can give blessings to those people. And second one is that he attracts those people. Like people become attracted by the qualities of devotees simply because he develops all good qualities simply by practicing bhakti. And since he develops good qualities and people are attracted by him, he's preaching the message of Krishna consciousness. That's naturally what devotee would do. He feels happy and content in his practice. But that's only described on a level of sadhana. So there's much more taste of Krishna consciousness that is developed. Yes. So like we hear here, another thing is that Krishna becomes he becomes controlled by your love. He personally will come and protect you. He personally will come and guide you. And another thing I wanted to mention about simplicity is that Srila Prabhupada mentions in one of the commentaries in 10th chapter is that sometimes when a disciple accepting a bona fide spiritual master, he's not intelligent to follow. He's missing it, So Krishna within himself, he will guide that disciple. Krishna will personally do that. Yeah.
Just wanted to know if you could say the differences between pridelessness and humility. Because this isn't that. I was just wondering what are the distinct differences?
Yeah, it's mentioned. Yeah. It's mentioned in the commentary to this text, and we can read. So, humility means that one should not be anxious to have satisfaction of being honored by others. Then Prabhupada explains, material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. But from this point of view of a man in perfect knowledge who knows that he is not the body, anything honor or dishonor pertaining to this material body is useless. One should not be hankering after this material deception. So humility means that you're not hankering after respect and honor of others. Then, let's see, humility. People are very anxious to be famous. Non-violence. The next paragraph starts with non-violence. But pridelessness. If you can just give me 1 second, I'll pull up the purport in the Shisha Upanishad also, just to have a good reference. 1 sec. I think it's text number 10, Shisha Upanishad. So yeah, the first one, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is quoting this text in the Bhagavad Gita, and he mentions that one should become a perfect gentleman by saying what humility is. So humble means a perfect gentleman. Learn how to give proper respect to others. You're respectful. Vaishnava or devotee means a perfect gentleman or gentlewoman. And second, one should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. So that would be the definition given by Srila Prabhupada about pridelessness. So first one, humility means to be a gentleman and to be respectful. And pridelessness means to not pose himself as a religionist simply for the name and fame. And instead of being respectful, you expecting to be respected and seeking that. Does that help? Okay. Yes. Luis.
Does material wealth only serve as a distraction, or are there any positive
Yeah, hold this tight.
Does material wealth only serve as a distraction, or are there any positive qualities? I know you mentioned to view it as just stones, but are there any? Because I know everybody can serve in different manners, in different ways. Are there any good qualities when it comes to, let's say, having wealth?
Mm. Yeah, this is what I mentioned as an example of stones is for someone who is a pure devotee. Right? So he's indifferent to whether pebbles or gold, like that. He's seeing everything as just a property of the Lord. So if we see wealth as the property of Krishna, and if we practicing bhakti, if we are aspiring to practice sincerely, and if we want to have if we're not objecting to Krishna's will, then we can use this wealth for propagating Krishna consciousness, and that could be very much beneficial. You can build temples, you can invest this wealth into your education, then you can invest it into going to holy places, or you can help those who are in need, for example, local people in Vrindavan or in any holy places. You can organize a preaching program, rent a center, then you can buy bhoga for the temple, decorate the altar. So those are a few examples how you can utilize your wealth in Krishna consciousness. But at the same time, what is emphasized is that material, for example, by Kunti Devi, Kinchana Gotra, in a purport, Srila Prabhupada is given an example of a devotee who can experience that obstacle of material wealth. And Srila Prabhupada speaks about chanting. If you have material wealth, then if you're not giving it to Krishna, or even if you're not a devotee, or a devotee with material intention, that could be an obstacle in chanting the holy name. That could be an obstacle in progressing spiritually, because wealth and also relationship with the opposite sex is very it's one of the strongest attachments in life. So it goes very deep into the heart, these types of attachments. So material wealth, especially for someone whose faith is not strong, could be used for Krishna service, but best if we do it under guidance. So Kanishta Adhikari, for example, he's always being trained by Madhyama Adhikari, by Uttama Adhikari. He's always under some authority, some senior Vaishnavas, and he always consults. So if you have some wealth, you can consult a Vaishnava who is in your understanding or an understanding of Shastra is utilizing his life to preach Krishna consciousness and is properly conducting it in this from his example of life. Balaram Prabhu.
Yeah, just about chanting. Earlier you're mentioning it, and recently I heard, and maybe some of you have heard this also, but it's a good point to remember that Srila Prabhupada one time said about ourselves chanting japa. He said, just try to hear yourself chanting sincerely. So it's an interesting thing to do, because also another example that Prabhupada gives about like a parrot. If a parrot's could be taught how to chant, you know that, right? So Dave, parrot could be taught how to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Hare Krishna Hare Krishna. Yeah. There's one devotee, Pavamana, he has a parrot who chants Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. His name is Śukadeva, the parrot. So anyways, but if a cat comes and grabs Śukadeva and while he's chanting Om Namo, he's not going to chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, he's going to squawk, So Prabhupada gave that example. Also, so that Krishna can tell, of course, he could tell if we're chanting sincerely, if we're trying to chant sincerely. Just like a mother could tell whether the child is crying sincerely or not. Sometimes it's a fake cry, or whatever, not as intense as it could be. So, so just thinking about that in relation to trying to hear ourselves chant sincerely, it's an interesting meditation, because you're like listening to yourself. I'm like, does this sound sincere? Just try to like hear yourself chant sincerely. So that's the challenge, and that's the idea, to try to really call out to Krishna. Prabhupada also, I remember hearing recently, there was devotees used to read Krishna book on this kind of radio station thing, and Prabhupada heard one lady devotee, I forgot what her name was, but she, in this pastime, I think she was playing Mother Yashoda, and then Krishna was there on Kaliya, and then she yelled out, Krishna, right? Like really, like. And then Prabhupada said, "Oh, stop the tape." And then he said, "Oh, who is that?" And then devotees told her, "Oh, it's Govinda or Dasi or whoever." And then Prabhupada said, "Oh, she should always chant like that for Krishna." So, anyways, just because you mentioned chanting, I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Yeah. It's chanting with that intention to be desperate for Krishna, to really seek him, just like the example that you mentioned and often been mentioned. Srila Prabhupada mentioned that helpless child. I spoke about this too. But imagine helpless child. Imagine if you're somewhere in, I don't know, in a forest, you got lost and you're looking for your mother, and you would really put so much emphasis to cry and to make sure that you're crying and your desire is so sincere, it's coming from the heart. Sometimes in the beginning we see that there's a material benefit from chanting. We chant and we feel happy, we feel peaceful. We feel like it helps me to feel peaceful. That's spiritual mantra vibration. But ultimately, that should progress further to chant for the pleasure of Krishna. And like Maharaj was mentioning, the soul is chanting. All the things are happening. You're moving your hand, you're vibrating your lips, but actually the soul is chanting, and the soul is looking to please Krishna. So yeah, chanting sincerely is a sure way of success in this age of Kali Yuga. And as much as we can, we should do it sincerely. Of course, there's some things that can help us to develop that mood of dependence, of Sharanagati. A few of these things is to be in assembly of devotees and to receive the mantra from a spiritual master and to learn by serving him how he approaches the holy name. And practically speaking, in this age, is also essential to distribute the mercy of the holy name to others and to have to preach the glories of the holy name. Because if we're not doing this, if we're not preaching the glories of the holy name, that means that we're holding on to something. There's some kind of material attachments that are there, some material desires. Because yes, if we receive the holy name from Guru Parampara, from the spiritual master, that means that we should embody the mood of preaching this holy name. That's the whole purpose. And in many ways, that's what will help us to, to seek and to beg the mercy of the holy name by being out there, by giving Krishna consciousness to others, by showing to Krishna that I'm sincere. I actually want to get you mercy. I want to please you. So, a few things.
Andrew Swami, he likes to quote this saying that I just remembered, but he said that, quoting one acharya, one of our previous acharyas, that japa is perfect, and then chanting with devotees is more perfect, and then chanting in public and for others, non-devotees and so on. So that's most perfect. So he likes to quote that. It's a good meditation.
Two wings. One is your own personal practice, and the other one is to engage in kirtan, give Krishna consciousness, Harinam to others. Those are two wings on which you'll fly back home. Anything else online? Okay, thank you for your attention. We can end here. Grant our Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.